Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 67. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
Welcome back to another wonderful week of divorce. We are excited to be here once again.
Always. I've jumped on your train, man. I'm excited every week to be here to learn more about divorce.
Get on the divorce train. Leaving the station. Oh, I think it's been around the world a few times. So
I don't think it ever stops. You just either jump on while it's going, you jump off while it's going.
There you go, you guys. What car are you on? Are you in the caboose?
No, I'm in the worker car. I got to fill the steam and the coal and do all this stuff. See, the divorce train is meant for divorcee. So you guys get the dining car and everything. I'm a single guy, so therefore, or an unmarried guy or undivorced guy. So therefore, I have to do the work.
You're still working to earn that seat in the dining car. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
We'll bring you some sandwiches.
Slop. I get slop thrown at me on the floor.
Who's driving this train? Attorneys?
No, I'm thinking who's been divorced like 7 times. Hasn't Larry King been divorced like 7 times?
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah,
he's been divorced quite a few times.
Pretty sure he's the conductor.
Well, I guess it's better him than my exes. So the other person, who else would be driving this train? Wedding coordinators?
No, they're the staff, man. They're the people that are serving you food, and
they're serving you a line of crap is what they're serving. We want to know who's on your divorce train. Hey, while you're out there tuning in, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And while you're out there on the internet, check out the website at lifelaughterdivorce.com. So we are very excited to be here. This week, the boyfriend is feeling much better.
Yay.
Hallelujah. Whew, that was not fun.
That was a multi-week,
flu, I guess.
Struggle.
Yeah. It was lots of tissue, lots of cough drops.
Yes.
All that.
A little bit of med.
Yeah.
But hey, didn't miss a day of work.
No, you sure didn't. Poor people at work. We're sorry. So we're back, and this week we had a guest, but just to play it safe, we Skyped them in. We didn't want any germs, right? So we Skyped with 2 previous guests. So it's a 2-guest deal this week.
Wow, that's special.
Yeah. And before we get to them, talk about, well, just to give you an idea, we talked about the struggles of dating, which I found very fascinating talking to these two because it's
a whole different world than it was. I always made fun of my parents when they said, "Oh, dating was different when we were growing up."
Back in my day,
how was it different? But it really is different now.
It is
with technology and with the Tinders and all those things. I know there's more than that one, but then you got your matches and your others. There's a whole plethora of ways to date in this world today.
Yeah, there's tons. There's Plenty of Fish, Match.com, eHarmony.
Those are like the
old school. Those are been around forever. And then there's Tinder and Grindr and
swipe and swipe
Swiper and
Swiper.
Finder and I don't even know what else, right?
There's Bumble too, isn't there?
Bumble? Yeah, I guess.
I think that's the woman-focused one.
Bumble's an appropriate word for dating. Flounder is also a great word. Flailing. Failing. Yeah.
So now you have the idea of what our ideas on divorce are.
Our perspective.
Yeah.
So there's all these little apps and things that you can get on your phone. It's not the same as just going and meeting someone through a friend, going
to the bar saying, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah. Remember those days? Remember when you had to call people on the telephone and actually
I hate talking to
conversation? People. Well, that must have been fun dates.
Yeah. Well, on the phone at least.
Did you ever go on a date where nobody talked to you or you just kind of sat there and stared at each other? Or looked around awkwardly?
Yeah, you don't you don't continue those dates. That's
you
where your
leave-
phone calls and you're like, oh, I gotta go.
Did you leave early? Have you ever left a date early?
Have I ever left a date early? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because I was smart.
Well, clearly.
Well, because typically I had a protocol. Like first dates were coffee shop meetups or a quick drink kind of thing, just to feel it out. And then if that didn't feel out so well, you finish your drink real quick and you leave, and you're done. And then you're done.
And you did those?
Yeah.
Were those with people you already met, or had you met those people online?
I never did an online date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it was just meet at a bar or meet through friends or whatever. And we'd go, hey, let's go get coffee. We go get coffee. And then if the conversation was good, then, hey, okay, let's go get dinner someplace or let's set up a dinner. But if not, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smart.
Protocols, man.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're lucky because we met at Starbucks.
Yeah, we had a coffee date just like that.
No wonder you asked me to dinner right away.
Well, we sat and talked there for a while. So.
Yeah, we did. Well, yeah, I was putting in a whole work day using the internet. Oh, I feel special. But dating is very bizarre. And there are dates. I remember after some really bad dates, that's when my roommate and I decided to actually get a cell phone. We're like, we need a cell phone in case of these kind of emergencies.
When did you get your first cell phone?
I don't think it was until 2000, 2001.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have it before. Like my whole married life, the cell phone thing didn't exist. Email existed, but nobody really did much.
It existed.
But
you didn't use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a difference. I had my first cell phone in 93 or 94.
I mean, I used email at work, but to have it to like really do stuff at home, I don't remember using a ton of email at home. You had your first cell phone in 94? Was it like the big one that's the size of a shoebox?
Yeah, it was.
Was it really?
Oh, yeah.
Did you have like a special bag to carry those around?
It was a phone in a bag.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I had that until they came out with the first handsets that you just carried around. And it was still a brick.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Those were big.
Yeah.
And you had those?
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have any of those. I think cordless phones were like the big highlight in my life back in the 90s. So yeah, no cell phones for me, not until after I was divorced twice. And thank God, I have to say, as much as we all use social media every day, I'm so glad that didn't exist when I was dating, really. Like when I was younger.
Well, people air their laundry right away. They'll put out you have persons or acquaintances that that you see all of their stuff on Facebook.
Oh, there are some things I'm seeing and I'm like, I can't take that back. I can't unsee
TMI,
that. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. Block from my newsfeed. I don't want to see that. So.
Yeah, could you imagine your dating life being public?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do that.
But everybody else is probably like, what do you mean? We're like the only two people left that are like, yeah, no. So yeah, dating has changed a lot. There's not a lot of coffee dates. And today I'm very excited because we got to talk to our guests, two previous guests, Marc Adam Smith and Madeline O'Hara, as we refer to as Maddie, my two good friends from New York. We used to perform together all the time and hang out quite often. So we kind of know each other's background and are quite familiar. And hopefully the audio came through because we were all smushed down to one Skype call. But I think it was a lot of fun, and there's some interesting tidbits in there. There's some interesting bits.
Really?
Maybe.
Yeah, there are, ladies and gentlemen.
So we hope you enjoy. We're back with guest. Without further ado. Hey, you guys, welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce podcast. Or I should say, welcome back. That would be your cue to speak now.
Thank you.
Hi.
This is like when we did. Hey, Maddie. This is like when we did improv with
Marc.
Leanne.
Yeah, when we all sit there and stare at each other in silence. Yeah.
Way to yes and me, you guys. Way to support your scene partner.
Well, if I've learned one thing over the years, it's that improv is crap.
Is that what you've learned after we've done a whole episode of Maddie telling us how important it was?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Well, she's very young.
I've
She'll
learned-
learn.
Mark always means the exact opposite of what he says.
That's right. I'm like the president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll save the politics for a special episode.
I'm not saying anything good or bad. I'm just saying you decipher.
Opposite. It's opposite day.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Isn't that from Sesame Street?
Yes, and there was
Is that where it
also
started?
there was a Seinfeld episode where George does everything
That's where.
and he finally gets lucky. You know?
I'm mistaken Sesame Street for Seinfeld.
Sesame Street's pretty good.
Yeah. So what we're doing today is because we have the two of you guys on here. We want to talk a little bit. I know Mark had some rants about dating, and what's your status on? What's your current status on dating right now, Mark?
I'm not.
Are you sitting on your button again? Because you're
not-
sounding like
I'm-
Chewbacca right now.
I'm sorry. Who are you? What did you say to me? Am I sitting on my button?
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
Are you
wait a minute.
sitting on your headset, or are you, what are you doing with the microphone?
Wait a minute. I'm getting old. I've lost timing. Is that better now? Can you hear me? What's
That's
going
better.
on?
I don't know, man.
Okay. So ask me if I'm sitting on my button again.
Are you sitting on your button?
Yes, that's why I'm not dating. Anyway, see, if I had figured that out to begin with, I would have had the joke right off the top. But now I'm 52, scant few months, so I'm no longer as funny as I once was. Timing is
It's everything. And you know what? So the three of us, when we used to hang out, we used to catch up regularly on where we were on the dating scene. But now we're, so spread out here.
Right.
Well, mostly me. I don't get all this information.
Yeah, we are not spread out. You left.
Yes, I abandoned
Went away.
my two peoples.
Mhm.
Yes, you were the one who spread. There's no spread. I've not spread.
So to speak. And when
Mom
we said,
Dad
yeah,
and I are trying to cope.
yeah. You guys, are you in therapy still?
Yeah, we work it out. We work it out every Tuesday.
So
We cry and lament.
yeah. So Mark, what I'm wondering is what your status is. You're sitting on your own button there.
Well, it's at my age and with my work and everything like that. I mean, I could certainly meet a lot more people if I would do an online thing, one of those services, Match or what have you or whatever, but I don't have the wherewithal. So it's difficult to meet people of my age who, you want to go out with. I mean, I don't want to date anybody young because that's just kind of stupid and icky. I just like to meet somebody because what are you going to talk to them about in the long run? You want to have somebody who has like a frame of and you know me, everything with me is like, references to the 1970s. So, you have to have somebody who had been born by then at the very least for it to go over well.
This is true. Every time you post on Facebook, I have to do a Google search and go, which TV show did this come from?
Well, it's funny.
I don't understand a word Mark says.
Nobody does.
I just nod and smile.
I have a lot of people who follow me, at Facebook and Twitter from where I work, and most of the people there are young. They're kids. They're younger, and they literally will say to me, "I have no idea what your postings mean. I don't know. I like them, but I don't know what you're talking about." And I went, "Okay." He said, "That's on you. I'm not going to. I don't explain. I just post and move on. I never explain what the post means. If you get it, that's terrific. If you don't, look it up or just ignore me. But I will not explain anything."
Yeah, it's like doing stand-up.
Right. It's like my stand-up is I won't explain.
It's like, I can't explain. I'm just going to move on to the next joke. And if you don't laugh or cry, get a drink. We're good. It's all good.
If I could find, meet somebody, I'd like to go out with them. But I just, it's difficult to do that at a certain, you work hard, you got other responsibilities in life. So I'm sort of in that rut of an area, of that. That's my stand on it right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not adverse to it. I was kidding, but before when I was against it, I would certainly go out with somebody if I met them or if I was set up. I'd give it a shot. Why not?
Okay. All right. Well, what about you, Maddie?
Well, I
mean, we kind of know your
I'm
status. Yeah.
Yeah, we just had I just had my 2-year anniversary.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
So things are going very well. So it's kind of, but I remember dating. It wasn't that long ago, and I hated it.
Well-
I hated dating.
Which I find interesting because
So-
you're way younger. You're like half our age.
Mhm.
Did I say that? I didn't
And
mean
yes,
that. I didn't mean-
you did.
I didn't mean that though. You're not half our age. Maybe a third.
I disagree with it.
Which
I was
part?
like, yep, exactly. I'm half your age. You 60-year-old lady.
Oh no, not that. I'm not that. Are you 30 now?
No, well, not yet. But I'm
All
almost 30. I'm 29.
Oh,
Wow. Wow.
I know.
didn't
Okay,
realize
guys.
that.
Thank you.
Wow. I thought you were much younger.
Going so well.
Yeah, this is great.
No, I hated dating so much. I tried the like Tinder thing and just hated it. It never worked out for me. I never had like one good date experience from it.
From Tinder?
So I fortunately, no, yeah, from Tinder. I never like went on a good date.
How many dates did you have from Tinder? It's like 3 or 50 because that makes a difference.
No, it would have been, I never actually had any. I had a couple that got set up, and then one I got set up once. Another like kept pushing it back, and then it just kind of fizzled out. And then one, we were going to meet up, and then they told like, again, like at the last minute, like, don't feel well, I'll call you or whatever. So none of them actually went through. So yeah, I think maybe it was me. But,
Didn't somebody
I don't
we
know.
know who shall remain nameless try to set you up on a date once?
probably.
Okay.
Who is
I-
that?
I don't know. I'm saying I said I will remain nameless. I don't want to get sued because all my money's in Bitcoin now, and I can't afford to lose that.
Mine's in laundry tokens.
Laundry tokens.
No, that's not true. We don't need tokens for the laundromat here. So it's a card. It's a card.
Oh, it's a card of the laundromat? Wow. We've advanced technology, haven't we?
I have to go off on a tangent for 1 moment. Have you ever noticed it's just like when you buy hot dog buns, it doesn't match the number of hot dogs in a package. When you go to a laundromat
Yeah.
and fill a card, it's never for the right amount of what you're going to actually use.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
no,
not-
it's-
that makes no sense to me. But anyway, back to Maddie and this unnamed person. Let me know where you're going to.
I don't know. I've been sitting here trying to think of what you're talking about. I mean, I'm sure that it's true.
I think there needs to be
I
an
did
unmasking of the name.
successfully
I don't know. I
date a
just
few times,
it was like somebody we performed with who said, "I know a great someone for Maddie," and then to try to set you up, and I was like,
Okay, well, the
Yeah.
first thing is any of us performers setting you up with someone, you know it's going to be a problem.
yeah, that's
so true. I mean, I can't think of someone who, like I performed with then whose
Well-
opinion I would trust in that regard.
I mean, if Marc or I
that's
were to
funny.
set you up with somebody, you certainly would be like, yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, but no.
I could argue that Marc potentially set me up with somebody once, kind of.
Did
in a
you?
roundabout way. Just
oh,
like
may-
casting us together.
maybe, yeah, okay, that's a fair statement to make.
Yeah, and you're not with that
Introducing
person
me
now.
to- No, I am not. But that had a lot to do with, along with dating for me in my story comes, sexuality. So I also along the way figured out that men wasn't so much my path. And then dating went a lot better when I figured out that I like women.
Right.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
fell in love with my best friend. And now we've been together for 2 years, and I don't need to go on bad dates with men anymore. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about that changeover and that switch and how that changed things.
Well, in college, was in a relationship with a woman, and then when it ended, I moved to the city. And when I was undecided, I hadn't picked a camp per se. I was kind of just dating around, and I did date a handful of men. I wouldn't even say date for an extended period of time. I went on random singular dates with a handful of men. or would get like their number and text them for a little bit. But I didn't feel invested in it. And I didn't feel like I don't know, like a date would end or whatever. And we'd like make out drunkenly at a bar one night, and I would never like have that lingering desire to do it again or like get those warm fuzzies when I thought about it or anything like that. And then I decided to just go back to women basically. But then that's when I got Tinder. And that's when I started looking at women on Tinder. And that's when we go back to never actually getting that off the ground at all. So I wouldn't say I successfully dated women very, very well.
No, men or women.
Until, yeah. But I say like dated, I had my two best relationships in my life are the one I'm in now, and then the other one that I had with a woman. But apart from that, everything with a man, from like a single night to a full-blown relationship, over it. Like, so
yeah.
But they made some good stories. I could write a book one day, probably.
Yes, probably. And it would be a very good book because you're a very good writer. Hey, I'm wondering, so when it comes to dating and being in your current relationship now with a woman, what are your plans, or do you have any for marriage? Putting you on the spot
what
here.
Day? Well, that's okay. We've talked about it. One day that is on the docket. It's not something that we both feel like financially prepared for right now. So, and we want to, I think we both see getting engaged as like a step forward into the next chapter of our lives, which we're just not quite there yet. So, not in the terms of our relationship, but in the terms of just like where we want to be in our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just not ready to get married yet, life-wise, but relationship-wise, I'm married tomorrow. Shoot. But it's just not.
So do you feel that it's more than just where you're at in your relationship? You view it, what other key components do you factor in that decision besides finances?
Look, well, gosh, career a little bit. We're both artists, right? So, we both kind of work job to job, and that kind of gets into the finance. Elaine, you know all about this because you and I have talked about this. Like, but yeah, and like I have plans to go back to school at some point, and I think I'd want to have that accomplished first. I don't know. I just think that like when we actually do want to get married, we want it to be when we're ready to focus on that and like start a life, maybe move to another city.
Mm-hmm.
So. Lots to think about, but again, we're still building up to that point, and I think we both sense that we're not built all the way in terms of, we still have like a roommate. You know what I mean? That's not either one of us. Like I don't want to be. When I'm engaged, I want to live with my person by my. You know what I mean? We're just not there yet. So that's the way to say it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And Marc, when we talked to you last time, you had some thoughts on marriage and stuff like that, but do you think you're any closer to where you'd want to be to that place?
No.
I'm watching you.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting though, don't you think though? Like for somebody myself, I think from when I was younger, and then me being the oldest person here, and then Leanne next, by several years, and then Maddie by several more years younger, that the attitude towards relationships and marriage, it's changed. Because I remember when I was younger, when I was 22 or 23, oh, you're getting 23. You know what I mean? And even though, what I'm saying? Like, even though I had already been married, divorced, it's still like, oh, you're getting up there. Yeah. Time's going to pass you by. Whereas I think, Maddie, for your generation now, being the youngest one in the Skype room here on the podcast, it's like that's not – you can live your life with your girlfriend for many, many years until you're ready to get married, and no one's going to look at you asunder and say, oh, you two got to get hitched. You know what I mean? It's like more of like, no, they're together. They're cool with each other. Let it go.
Yeah.
In New York, though, I mean, if I go back to South Carolina, where I grew up, I mean, all of my friends who stayed in South Carolina got married in their 20s. I mean,
there you go.
A bunch of them have are on their second kid already. So that when I go there, first of all, when I go home, I'm already an outsider because I'm not married, and I'm already an outsider because I'm totally gay. So like, there's not a lot of that in my high school left over, in my hometown. So yeah, I think it also depends on where you are, because that's like definitely down south. It's still like, I'd say the average marriage age down there is probably like 23 or 24.
Yeah.
Which for me is crazy. I didn't know who I was when I was 23. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine being in a place where I could commit myself forever to somebody, because I didn't even know what the heck was going on, you know?
Right,
So,
right. And I got married the first time when I was right before I turned 23. I was 22. Could you imagine? You know, so yeah. I think you made a really good point, though.
Well, for you.
Yeah, see how that worked out? Huh? So much so I did it again right away. So where you live plays a part in it, because I don't think that being in New York, that's not on the forefront of most people's minds, is getting married, or it doesn't seem to be, at least in the circle we ran in.
Actually, I always talk about coming to New York and meeting you and Nanette and Alexis, even though Nanette is married, but just like, you were the first women. Don't take this the wrong way. You're the first women your age that I had met that were like, not like, the marriage wasn't first on
soccer mom quality.
Not even just like marriage, but like children as well, and just that whole like family dynamic thing wasn't like top of your list, you know. And it was like,
what gave you that impression?
Nice. to do improv on a Friday night, you know, and like hang out with you guys, and like, you know, and Alexis is married now too, but at the time, and it was not like that it wasn't ever part of your goal or plan or whatever, but not like, I don't know, it just seemed to me like family and everything like that was like, you guys were okay with it just happening whenever it happened, and you were still very much working on art and comedy and like all these fun things that everybody else in other places that I met like shed off like a snakeskin or something when they got married, you know?
Right. So, and we all did it kind of cool.
That is true though, because, you know, like, you know, I was saying, I was riding home on the subway with somebody the other night, because we both live in Queens. It was after a little party, so it's like, oh, we're going to Queens, and she's married, but she's not going to have kids. She's just like not in her. I'm not having kids, you know. And I was like, you know, I have so many friends who I started performing with like maybe 10, 15 years ago, a whole bunch of them, what have you, who have kids now and married, and that's the whole crux of their existence, are kids. Like, it's the whole thing. Like, and granted, that's cool, whatever, but Facebook postings, their life is that kid. As well it should be. If you're going to have a kid, take care of the kid. I get it. But it's like, I'm not that also interested in that, hey, you want to come over and see the kid? It's a kid.
No, I'd rather come see your show.
Right. What will the kid actually do?
Yeah.
Go see it.
Right.
Well, yeah, not everybody wants children. And like, it's like to be a woman who doesn't want children in the South, especially, is like, oh
my God, that's
like
terrible.
A mental disorder. Like, you know, I mean, like something must genuinely wrong with your brain.
Something wrong.
Well, you're going batting zero there in the South, Maddie.
Oh, I know. Well, look where I live. I mean, but I love it down there. Don't get me wrong, but like it's a lot of cultural differences, you know.
I think
very traditional kind of.
Maddie's going to be on that new Bravo show, Childless Lesbians of the South. Be on right after Real Housewives of the last.
Shit, that's funny.
Oh no!
What's wrong with you? You got to have a child and marry a guy. That's my stereotypical Southern.
No. Yeah.
I do a lot of voiceover work.
Yes, we know your experience in voiceover.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Hey.
Insights.
So are you watching Matlock right now? Where we tape this? Okay.
No, I'm not watching Matlock. I don't watch Matlock.
All right. I heard a TV, so I wanted to check. Maybe it's the wheel. I don't know.
My dad watches Matlock. I watch shows from the 80s.
Are you watching Fuller House?
Magnum PI reruns.
Yeah, are you watching Roseanne again?
No, I didn't watch Roseanne when Roseanne was on the first time, so I don't give a rat's ass this time. I'll be honest with you, I just don't care. I just didn't. I've never been a Roseanne fan. Now, if I said this on another podcast. If Mad About You comes back, then that I'm in for 112%. But otherwise, all these old shows that keep coming back, just stop. Because you've had your run. It's over. Let it go.
Yeah. I like gold
Except for
lame
Lundgren.
shirts. Yeah, like gold
Right.
lame shirts. I don't think I need another.
Remember Zubaz pants?
I
Those
think-
workout
Nope.
pants that Joey Buttafuoco used to wear with the stripes on them and everything, like sweats. Those are coming back.
Oh, I do remember those. Those were terrible then. Those should not. Oh no.
Most horrible pants ever. And you had to have a fanny pack when you wore them because there was no place to put your stuff.
Yeah. No place to put your junk in those pants. I don't want to know about it. There's so many ways to go. So, getting back to Maddie in the South.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
So, what now? You and your girlfriend have gone back to the South together. Are you well received?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we just went. I have a cute story. We went to Savannah, and we're very we're very comfortable together, and we on the whole are fine being together in public and everything down south. But we subconsciously, I think, just generally stay a little further apart than we normally do. Or we don't hold hands out in public as much. Just like little things. So we went to this wildlife center that's in Savannah. And they have trails, and we were walking around, and there was a father and his little son, little kid. I'm thinking 4, walking around. And we would be far enough ahead on the path, and we'd be holding hands, and then they would kind of come into view behind us, and we would just let them go hands. We didn't even think about it. It was not a huge deal. But at one point, he kind of caught up to us and was like, "Hey, I hope it's not appropriate for me to say this." And then he paused, and we were both like, "Oh God, what?" And he was like, I just want you to know, if you're worried about holding hands in front of me and my son, please don't worry about it. It's completely fine with us, and enjoy your day or whatever, But we were like, oh, that was nice.
That
yeah,
was very nice.
So that could have gone both ways. Yeah. So I think, and I always think the South gets a little bit of a worse rap than it deserves, because you only hear about the a-holes, but there's a lot of lovely, progressive, amazing people in the South, of course. So I try to just keep those people in mind when we go down there, and no, we haven't had, even though we're not quite as PDA as we might be in New York, we haven't had a bad experience with anybody down south when we go.
Well, that is
Well,
great to know.
yeah.
That's a nice story. And it's true. And look, the stereotypes happen. There are a lot of asshats all over this country.
Yeah.
In places you go to certain neighborhoods here in New York. There's places, go to South Boston. You'll run into you're going to run into some cretins in a lot of different states in this country. So the South does get a bit of a bad rap in that. Oh, there's but it's not necessarily so.
Right. Yeah. You're going to get good with bad everywhere you go, and different opinions and thoughts on it. But it's good to know that you guys are doing well and people are treating you well also. And I'm also curious, we talked to an attorney recently, and she does a lot of high conflict cases, divorce cases and things like that, but a lot of also same-sex marriage divorces. And one of the things that she brought up was how important it is to have a prenup, because right now, even though it's legal to get married in many of the states, it's not legal in all of the states. And let's say you two decide to move to another city later, you may not even be recognized as married in that particular state, and therefore you wouldn't be able to get a divorce in that state. But if you have a prenup, because that's a legal binding contract, that's not a marriage, but because it's a legal binding contract no matter where you go, it's really important to have, so that she goes, I would recommend it to everybody, because of how it varies from state to state, it can really screw you up if you don't have a contract that's valid anywhere. And she goes, that saved a lot of people. So I found that interesting. And in case you're worried to do with all those millions that you guys have, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how will we divide our assets?
Right? How would you split that roommate? Who would get the roommate?
Exactly.
But I thought that was interesting, because you don't really hear. You hear about how things are being progressive when it comes to getting married, but it's not. It's still catching up on the other side of that.
On getting divorced. That's interesting. I didn't consider that a marriage might be recognized somewhere, but a divorce wouldn't be because it's
Yeah, Texas.
like marriage has federal laws, but divorce doesn't. That's interesting.
Texas won't divorce a same-sex couple because they don't recognize you as being married in the first place.
In the first place.
Because I know that's your next
Fascinating.
move.
What a tactic if you don't want to, like if she's ready to leave me, I'm going to ship us over to Texas.
You're like, nope, we're going to make
Sorry,
this.
girl. Stuck in this relationship.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
So,
have a rare steak and a deep fried waffle. I don't know.
Wow, that's
yeah, that's stereotyping.
That's an attack against our Texas friends there, Maddie. Wow.
Suddenly our listenership just
You're right.
goes
It would be
down.
a well done steak. It wouldn't be a rare steak. You're right.
Our listeners are just dropping like flies. It's funny. I can't keep up with you guys. You're wrecking my. No, I'm just messing.
No, it's terrible.
So
what did you expect was going to happen?
I know. The three of us on a podcast. So Marc, if you're not for dating right now, do you see anything in your future? Are you on Tinder? Are you on Match or?
No, I was for a while, and it just nothing worked for me. Look. You guys know me. I'm not an easy person to get along with. And I can be persnickety, which is a nice way of saying, because I don't want to use the word on your podcast of what I truly am.
Which
begins with ass and ends with the other thing.
Oh, asshole.
Well, now that you've said it.
What's the other thing?
Now that you've opened it up, so to speak, now we can go there. And all of that has double entendre about it. No, but
if you don't know what camp you're in, that could change things.
Yeah. No, I know what camp I'm in.
Now you can go there.
I'm in the camp where nobody of either sex wants to go. Not even the bears. It's like, leave him alone because he's a monumental asshole. Even bears wouldn't attack me in the woods. The bear will look at me and go, he's just not worth it. I don't want to eat him because he's such an asshole and he's not worth it. And I'm going to go over there and eat this young couple over here. That's what the bear says. The bear's inner monologue.
Is this in your profile?
Hey, Marc, some women are assholes too.
Right.
You just have to find your asshole.
I have to. Well, here, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like the 80s in New York again. There we go.
Yeah, this is what we need. We need to find Marc someone who can.
Is there like an
challenge
assholes meet?
Right.
Well, that's Grindr, I guess.
Well,
Never mind.
Well, we need an AA, Assholes Anonymous.
Sorry, that was hilarious what I just said.
It was.
It was. Really. That's Grindr.
Anyway, which I've already established is not for you, Marc. So, but
no.
Yeah.
But at some point, if I can get things together, if I can get my s together, I could see
you mean shit?
Yeah, I mean shit. I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying to be like a nicer person. And not use so many curse words because it's like I curse a lot in my daily.
Is all this in your profile?
No, my profile was like
that should be. I curse a lot.
Yeah,
that should be your bio tag.
My profile was all full of lies and half truths. And I did go out on a date a couple of times, but it just was like, I guess it's the thing is if there's nothing there, if there's no chemistry there, why do you do it? Why would you do it again?
Right.
It's like you kind of. It's like, I don't know. You want what you want.
Although, hang on a second, Maddie, your girlfriend, you guys were best friends for years before you ever started dating. Right. So.
Yeah, but we did like each, we were.
Yeah, but was there always a chemistry there?
It's interesting. I have a very flirty personality, as you guys know. And, so do most theater people, I would argue, in a way. And we both. So I think we definitely had a flirty, fun friendship. But no, if you had asked me like a couple years ago, what about Galliana? It wouldn't have occurred. No, that wouldn't have occurred to me. But I think that's the best part about it was that I used to say like my problem with Tinder and everything was just like I'm not good at meeting somebody in a romantic capacity that I don't know. It's weird for me. Like I've always dated people who were friends first, good friends first. And I just assume I hated dating strangers, because it's weird for me to like meet a complete rando, and then you immediately start to question on the first date, like, so many things, like, is this going to be worth it? Is this even worth my time? Can I see a future? Which is crazy to think about on the first date. Like, you don't know yet,
Right.
but you're already kind of sussing that up. You can't help it. And it's just weird. And of course you can't. And of course, like, they say or do something that is like, not your favorite thing. And, and then you go home and you turn around and bitch about it to the person who you're going to wind up with, which is kind of cool. I mean, when we started dating, or when we actually finally got together, we already knew each other so well. There was no,
right.
There was nothing awkward about it, in a way.
Knowing that, Marc, is there anybody that you've gone out on a one date that you would like not even mind hanging out with as a friend, or no?
Oh yeah, I've had those situations. I've had those situations because I've sort of been, also you get put in that situation. It's like, oh, okay, I like you, but we're not going to, and then you just have to, you know what I mean? Like, it's from.
Well, on the flip side, there's nothing worse than getting a crush or falling for a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I've fallen in love with a friend before that was never, that was straight or was never gonna,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Maddie.
And I know, Leanne. It's agony, though, to fall in love with somebody.
Well, that's exactly why
be around them, and
that's exactly why I don't see Alex Deaconess anymore.
Well, yeah,
that's not.
I thought that baby looked particularly ballpark.
Yeah, I think that baby was kind of like the signal to me that there's no opportunity there.
Yeah.
I guess once he had a baby.
Just to catch up our listeners, is our friend Alex that we speak of had a baby with someone else. So we're all highly disappointed. Not because he's happy, but because it's not our baby.
I'm disappointed that other people are happy. I have no qualms about that. I get upset when I see happy people. Except for you two guys.
I introduced him and his wife. So
That's true.
In a way, it is my baby.
It is your baby. Yeah. Go take the baby.
Take the baby. See if they're okay with that. Be like, this is mine. This was the payment, right, for the setup. So we're good now.
I'm Lucifer. I've got to get my baby.
Oh no, we're gonna have to send Alex a copy of this episode. Put it on a CD and mail it.
Sure. No, but I've had people. You get in that. Maddie's totally correct. That's like the worst feeling in the world. It's like, oh, I like this person, and then that person makes it clear to you, yeah, you're cool. I'm not dating you. And so it's like, and you feel awkward then around them, and you feel weird and like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're friends and we can hang out, and that's fine. I mean, it's up to you then as the person to say, okay, this person was honest with you and they told you they don't have those feelings. Do you ruin a friendship over that? Or you just say, okay, this is someone who I could be friends with and I shouldn't throw that away just because I got a crush on them and they didn't have a crush back on me. It gets kind of, you know what I mean? It's petty. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, this is about you. You have to be able to say, okay, because it's a two-way street. You have to like someone, they have to like you. Then you go out in a few dates and you see what goes on. But just because you're friends, you like, oh, it's great that you like me. I don't feel for you that way. We're still friends, right? And you have to accept that. It's part of growing up and being a human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. Especially, if you run into those people. Isn't it amazing, too, living in a big city like New York, how often you run into people you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's all the time. More so than I think when you live anywhere else. Like, I think living in other places like out here, I don't run into people that much like, driving in my car somewhere. It's more spread out and it's more unlikely. Right. Unless you hang out at a regular bar or something like that. Right. But I feel like in the city, you're constantly on the go and you run into people on the subway and stuff all the time. It's kind of ridiculous.
But it's different. It's different, though, for men and for women, though, as you guys can attest to. Like in New York, there's always somebody saying something to women. like somebody's
yes.
like talking shit to women, and you guys know this because I know you both told me this and I've seen it. So you women sort of walk down the street in New York with the armor up and the guard, and rightfully so, because some guy's going to come, hey, why don't you smile more, baby, why don't you smile more, or look, and like, shut the fuck up. And I swear this did happen to me once, where there's this person I'd done shows with and I knew for a long time, I hadn't seen her in a while, and she's coming down the street. And I was like, oh, and I literally like walked up to her and said, her name was Karen. I said, hey, Karen. And she almost punched me in the face.
Really?
Because she didn't, for that split second, she didn't see me. She just saw, who's this fat fuck coming next to me to bother me?
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's true.
No,
because
I
she
get it.
probably gets like that happening all the time. And she was like, I almost like was going to, I said, I saw you. I didn't, for that split second, until I realized, oh, this is someone I know. Then you get to go there, because women go through a lot of shit here in this city, in a lot of cities.
I think just in general, like the minute you walk out your front door in New York, your senses are immediately overstimulated. Stimulated.
I've schooled two of my friends for, like, one time walking down the street, my friend was jogging. He had been out for a jog, and he saw me ahead of him, and so he came running up behind me. And then, like, I heard the running, and I heard the footsteps, and I felt his, and I was like, never, ever, ever run up on a woman behind her like that.
No.
Never. Don't do it. And then another guy, I worked with him. He's a bartender. I was on my way to work, and I had stopped to talk to someone that I saw that I knew. And he came behind me. He was on his way to work too. And he recognized me, so he came up and slapped me on the ass, like, to walk by me. But I didn't. I was standing on the sidewalk. I didn't see him. So, like, I also, like, when I got to work, I was like, if you thought that was funny, that was not funny. I was like, you don't get to just do that. Like,
right.
Walk up to, especially, like, I wasn't, like, upset that he did that. I mean, like, he's a idiot, but he, like, at work or something, if he playfully did that, it wouldn't really bother me that much. But
as long as he said good game afterward.
On the street or whatever, always a good game. Yeah, exactly. Out on the street when no one's looking, like, it's not. Yeah, and I've had other guy friends who, like, if they see me on the street or something, will reach out from behind and grab or something, and I'm never comfortable with that. I don't like that. So I understand why.
Yeah,
like the instinct is to.
Right. I think I agree with you. I think there's things that are just not appropriate, and I don't think they understand why. Unless it happens to you.
It's not on purpose.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like when it's coming from a place of, like, when you don't, in your mind, if you've never, like, had to experience that feeling, of just, like,
then they're never
able to be physically outpowered at any moment, then you just don't know what that feels like. And so you don't think about it. It doesn't occur to you,
Right. But when you're walking down the street and you're not
that feeling.
Yeah. And it's completely unexpected out of the blue. Like, it's not funny. It's not a joke. Yeah.
No. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you're like, your body goes into this, like, oh shit, like, defensive thing.
Now let me ask you, Leanne, let me ask you a question. Because you, from the time I first met you and everything, you had you were a New Yorker, even though you're not a New Yorker, but you were a New York woman, because you had a sense of, like, of that.
Stay away from me.
Yeah, you did. You really did. You know, even when I was walked next to you, you gave off the vibe that I didn't. To me, just not.
He's saying you had bitch face.
Wrestling bitch face. Yes, I did.
Being out in California now for a couple of years, is that a different vibe? Has that gone away? Is it softer now? Do you think you could, like, if you came back for a visit and were walking, would you immediately be like, oh, I'm back in New York mode? Or out in California, is it more laid back and everything?
That is a good question, Mark.
That is a great question. I think I would go right back into that mode. I don't think I'm much different in that respect. Like, in fact, the boyfriend always laughs at me because I'm like, #crime. Like, everything that I do, I'm like, someone's gonna steal that, right? Like, you can't leave your laptop laying around. Like, you can't, like, you got to put that away, or you can't. And he's like, it's not that much crime. I go, dude, seriously, why is your door unlocked? And he's like, what are you talking about?
You've had to wear that armmer. It's really hard to take it off.
It really is.
You've had to.
Well, and not only that, but okay, in New York, how many people do you know that have been mugged, something stolen from them? Like,
so many.
so everybody, like one night we were all sitting at a table. It was one of our improv troupes. We were sitting there. There were 6 of us. We were waiting for the 7th to show up. And the 6 of us were talking about being mugged at gunpoint. 2 people had been mugged at gunpoint, 1 person at knife. And the other 3 of us were like, no, but we've been burglarized. And while we were waiting for the 7th person, he never showed up because he was at the police station because he got jumped by 2 guys under the scaffolding over.
Holy crow.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, yeah. So I kind of think of those things before I walk out my door. I lock my door to go to my car and come back. Like I don't leave it open. I don't, walking down the street, I'm very conscientious of like who's around me at all times. You just don't know.
The plus side for the South is I grew up in a place where like, we don't lock our doors. We pull up to the convenience store, leave the keys in the car, leave the car running, go inside, grab something, come back out. Like that's where I'm from. You know? Okay. So let's, talk about dating, right? So when you think about when you're dating in a city, especially like New York, well, first of all, you don't date people in other boroughs because that takes days to get there. But that's a whole nother episode. But when you think about dating, like we always have to meet up with somebody somewhere. And I don't know about you guys, but I would always tell somebody where I was going to be if I were meeting somebody new. Be like, I don't know who this person. You don't like. I don't want to end up in a torso in the alley. Like cut up into small pieces, and like.
And that's why you don't ever go to another borough. That's why, because hey, come meet me in near where I live in the Bronx,
especially in Staten Island. Never take the ferry.
Staten Island's not a borough. It's just it has to be. It's not really a borough. I mean, other than the Wu-Tang Clan, there's nothing from Staten Island I care about. It's just dope. But that's the thing. It's like you go, like, that is like, oh, where do you want to meet up? Let's meet up in Brooklyn. And you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like Leanne.
That is one of the scarier sides to online dating, you don't actually know who you're going to meet until you get there.
Exactly. Right. You really don't. You don't know if their name is for real. You don't know if their photo's for real. And the other thing is that in New York, which is on like a lot of cities, is you meet somewhere. Like it's less likely, even at, even months into dating, that someone's going to come pick you up. Like people don't, and that's very rare that A, someone has a car, or B, they're going to spend time on the train to actually come.
Or you're going to give them your address, like on the first date. Well, I'll pick you up next time. Where do you live? Yeah. No, thank you. No,
you just don't.
I don't know that picking people up is even like so much a thing anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I don't know if that's culturally a part of dating anymore.
I kind of wonder. I want to hear from the listeners, like who live elsewhere. Is like, does someone come and pick you up for a date?
Do you still get picked up for dates, or do you just meet at the place? Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, the boyfriend, he comes and picks me up, but that's different.
But you're already...
Yeah, we're already in a relationship. So I'm kind of curious. So knowing that, Mark, if how many dates have you lived in New York your entire life? Have you ever picked anybody up for a date?
Back years ago, you kind of did. It was kind of more if you go back years ago, it was kind of expected for the man to come
like in the 20s.
Yeah, back in the 1920s. Yeah. You hitch up the horse to the horse. It depends on what kind of horse you had, and you had to ride the horse to.
And if she was an animal person,
right? Yes. Is she a pony girl or is she more of a stallion?
Oh, let's go. Anyway, no, but you go to somebody's apartment or like in their building, like because in New York we have the apartments and the building culture. So the culture would be you may not necessarily go up to their apartment, but she'd say, "Meet me in the lobby of my building." So you'd go there at the lobby, to meet the person and sort of pick them up. Now, I've never had a car, so in a car culture, you drive to pick somebody up. But I would go on dates where I go to somebody's building and they'd say, well, wait in the lobby. I'll be down in a couple of minutes. This is the building I live in, but they wouldn't give you their apartment as of yet until they got to know you. So you meet. But then again, in the old days, you date people, it was somewhat different because there was a lot of people you'd know and meet through mutual friends. Or sometimes you just meet somebody at a bar or a club and, people didn't think back then. So it was like, oh, I live here. Let's meet here. Let's go out there. I think over time that's changed a little bit because now there are these meeting places. There really are cultural meeting places now. The stereotypical coffee shop has become, I think, the number one place. Where do you want to meet? Oh, let's meet at a coffee shop. I mean, there's a million.
Grab a coffee, yeah.
Yeah, there's the Bean, there's Pete's, there's all coffee shops all over the place. And it's like, oh, do you know this coffee shop on 3rd and 12th? Let's meet there. And it may not be anywhere near where you live or anything like that, but it's kind of a cultural type of, oh, it's a public place. You can have a conversation with somebody, this, that, and the other thing, and see where it progresses, but getting to know where somebody lives or picking them up, I do agree. I think that's somewhat antiquated. I mean, once you've been dating for a while, then maybe you go to somebody's apartment and it's like, oh, come on over for dinner. And it's like, oh, okay. And then but that's a few dates in. Once you say, okay, now I know that this person doesn't seem like they're going to murder me and chop up my torso unless they're playing the long con, then that's it. So you're safe. You feel safer.
And
also, like, first impression wise, like, if someone's coming to pick you up on the first date, like, I like, you don't really, like, commuting is a bitch. Like, it's not fun. So, like, I don't want someone to come, like, in the first, like, 10 minutes of meeting them on their date. I want to already, like, have a drink, be having fun, having a good conversation, not, like, swiping at the turnstile and battling, like, the train breaks down and you're battling 100 people and it's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think I would want to be picked up.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be different. Yeah, that's right.
I'm, like, still getting my shit together and I'm, like, dealing with the hassle of, I'm not my best self on the commute. I want on the first date, like, you don't send yourself on your first date. You send your representative, and, like, my representative needs time.
My representative needs time.
I agree. I'm thinking, like, of all the things that happen on the subway. It's like, there's certain things you don't need to experience on the subway together before you've had a conversation.
Right.
Not like in your first impression, or you're trying to give off.
Look, there's a gentleman who's having fun with himself over there in the corner.
Exactly, literally.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What kind of literature do you like, my dear? Thank you. Oh, look. The guy's over there rubbing one out in the corner. Because it
happens.
It does.
Lot. It actually happens a lot. There is a lot of lonely people riding the subway.
Yes, who are doing, self-abuse.
Leering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of leering. And the subways are a little crazy. They've always been crazy, but there's a lot of, you always got to keep your guard up and everything.
Yeah.
Now we have the situation which happens this happens like at least once a week here. Somebody for no reason whatsoever punches somebody in the face
on the subway.
Like on the subway or on the platform, somebody just walks up and punches someone in the face.
That's a thing now.
It's a thing now. It happened on the 7 train, like the other day. It happened in Union Square. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, so I'm always on point. Like, I always am standing and looking at everybody. Fuck, don't you fuck with me, And look at me too. I'm bald and large. Somebody wants to punch me in the face. They're like, yeah, better not. He might be a nut. He might eat me. But you see it. You see people who I also tell people, like, I deal with a lot of people at work who are from out of town or out of the country. And when they're asking for tips, I say, look, here's one thing I'm going to tell you is whenever you're on the subway, just keep your eyes open at all times and keep your wits about you and don't get too lost in looking and then you're listening to your music. Just always, because there's people out there who are just going to, like, if you see someone coming towards you and it doesn't feel right, move. You can tell, move away, just because they don't see it. They don't, you think of where they're from, it doesn't have this type of thing. I said, this is still New York. We still got a lot of psychos here.
And I think the same goes to say, just not even on just the subway, but pay attention.
Street.
Well, on your street, but when you're on a date with someone you don't know, like, pay attention to those things.
You got to, yeah.
Because the other thing is you don't know if you're showing up to a bar to meet somebody, they could have a friend somewhere else. And the minute they distract you, that person's digging in your backpack.
Thank you.
Like, you can't.
Also, watch, like, the drinks. Like, make sure you're getting your own drinks.
Yes.
And not getting handed a drink you don't know.
Yeah. And that could happen in any city. I mean, anytime you meet somebody somewhere, you can get up and go to the bathroom. You don't know if they've got someone else waiting when you leave.
It's a big problem in college towns. Like, I'm from a college town, Clemson. And, like, it's a date drugs are still, like, a very big thing in college and in, like, that age.
Yeah.
Like, on campus and stuff. Yeah, you hear about it a lot in college towns, that, like, people getting roofied and stuff is still, and also, well, and in New York too, I know a handful of girls who in the last 5 years have been roofied out and about in Midtown. So you got to be.
Yeah, you got to be
on your toes, or have a wingman.
Right. It's good to have a wingman.
And Maddie,
have good friends. Oh my God, I work at a bar, and
oh yeah, you're a bartender. You see this.
I see the worst, like either group of friends or a girl on a date where she's had it and she needs to go. Like, if my friends are such that if I was ever so drunk out and about that I couldn't stand up or could barely know my name, or I was that girl that everybody was looking at, they would get me out of there. Like, I don't understand friends who can just let their friend be that way and leave them, or better yet, on a date, like the guy just doesn't want to leave and his girl is just done. And it's like, number one, I don't want him to take her away because I don't even know what's going to happen. But number two, she can't be here anymore, but like, get good people around you when you go out, if you're going to party like that, or if you're going to get, and not like you intentionally get that drunk, it's something has gone wrong by that point, hopefully, you're not trying to get that drunk. But like, it happens to the best of us, everyone's gotten too drunk before, but, get them out. Like I see it every day. Like I've gone up to people multiple times. Like, you need to take your friend home now. Like, you need to be there for your friend and take them home. Like, they're not appreciating you letting them be this way right now.
We had a one night like that, didn't we, or something? I think, right, Leanne? Didn't we?
Oh yeah, yep. I don't know what happened. It was the food.
There's a food.
Yeah, the food.
Yeah.
It's the Sam Kinison excuse. It's not all the cocaine you've been doing. No, I had bad food. I had bad food. Chinese food.
It's when it's too, if you're suddenly not, if when you've had too much and it's like time to go. You know what? I need to get a cab. I need to go home.
Right. But then think of this: if you had so much to drink that. Like, this happened to me. It was about 2002, 2003. I was working with this rep company, and we had a show, and we went to this bar afterwards. And all I remember about the bar is that the bar had the name Banana in the title, and I don't know what that means. I had like 8 or 9 shots.
Yeah.
So I'm outside, and I said, okay, I'm going to go home now. And I said, you okay? I went, yeah. So I go outside, and I tried to get a cab, and then a couple of my friends who live downtown, they were married. They're watching me. They said, we were watching you, and you were standing in front of the cab for a very long time talking to the cab driver. And they came over and said, what's the problem? And I looked, I said, I can't remember where I live. Because the cab driver will not take me to Queens if I don't give him an address. I kept saying Queens, apparently, the cab driver, Queens. And so they took me home to their place and let me sleep on their couch because I was completely, and I didn't know, I knew them a little bit. We worked together in the show, but I didn't know them well. And, and it was fine. And they just let me sleep it off. And then their cat woke me up at 6 a.m. and scared the shit out of me because I wasn't expecting to get attacked by a cat because I don't have a cat. So it really scared the crap out of me. But I was like, oh my God, what happened? And but that's what friends do. Friends help friends. It's like, okay, you're in bad shape. We need to get you out of here. If you've had way too much to drink or anything like that. And especially if it's a girl, if it's a woman, because that's just, why let them get taken advantage of,
Right. Yeah. Well, how do you guys feel about Uber and Lyft there in the city for safe rides home?
Like it. It's fine.
Yeah. Because I recently heard something in the news that there's a lot of there's a civil case against them now with them assaulting women passengers.
I've heard a lot about that with Uber drivers. Yes, that it would have that assaulted a lot of women because it's a day. Imagine that. Now the culture, Uber and Lyft. I mean. Leanne, you'd figure I could tell you this because you've been gone for a while now. Taxi cabs. Yellow taxi cabs are on the outs in New York City. They're really on the outs. They're not. Nobody's going into that business anymore. The yellow taxi cab business. It's gone way, way down because of Uber and Lyft and all of this type of thing. But also with that, I mean, you think about an Uber. You do it on your phone, and somebody in a car comes to pick you up who's got an Uber or a Lyft sign, and you don't really know whose car you're getting, at least with a yellow taxi cab, and there can be assaults there too, but at least there's an identification in the window, there's a medallion number, there's a this is regulated. this is a regulated New York City taxi cab. Whereas these cars that come along, it's an Uber, it's a Lyft. I'm coming in a Nissan Sentra, and it's like, who is this? Who do you know who this person is? So I can see where that would be a very dangerous situation, especially if you're a little inebriated or something. If you're a little bit off center, that could be a scary situation.
Yeah, especially if you're not paying attention to if you're getting in the right car.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And finding a way to
go get in a car. Yeah.
So there's so many things like I think about. I'm so glad some of these things didn't exist when I was dating a lot, so that, that's just one more thing I feel like we have to worry about, because you're meeting people that are complete strangers off the internet. And, not to say that everybody's crazy, but I'm sorry, I can't forget that book I read by John Lutz called Night Moves. And it's all about this brother and sister team who started an online dating service. And then they started online dating service. And you know how you have to fill out all of your personal information for your profile at like on eHarmony, where they ask you like 100 million questions. They did this dating service to ask you a zillion questions like that, like real personal questions down to like what brands of toothpaste you use, what kind of schedule do you keep, and those kind of things. Did you just move here? And they'd find people that move. I'll make a point here in a second. Follow me for a minute. So they would find people who moved from the city recently that maybe weren't real close to family and things like that. Like they'd get a good profile on the people that they brought in, and then they would kill them, and they'd take their body to a warehouse and like chop them up and throw different body parts in different places across the city to get rid of them, to eliminate them. And what they do is they bring somebody else from another country or somebody who is hiding from the law, and they'd change their identity to that person they just killed and take over their apartment and everything, so that the neighbors, because if they were a person who kept themselves, which they put in a profile, people wouldn't know that it's a different person living there because they never had any real contact, and family wouldn't be looking for them.
This would be a great TV movie for you and I to star in, Leanne.
I think so.
As the brother and sister who kill people.
Yes. Yes, that would be us. Or it's like,
that'd be awesome. That would be so
I need to see a 15-minute scene. Ready, go.
Yeah.
Marc is like,
of you and me chopping up a body in a warehouse, like all in butcher clothing and right.
I cannot forget. I read this book. I think I talked about it on one of my mics one time. But it was insane, and I've never forgotten that book.
Well, yeah, it's that can happen.
Because, well, think about it. Think how much of information someone could get off of any one of your online profiles, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whatever it is, whatever you put out there, people can pick up and piece together, and they know enough about you. Same with like posting shows or what you're doing all the time. People know when you're home and when you're not home, and if you're posting
your location, everyone posts their exact location all the time.
Hey, thank you. Yeah. And maybe not so much for you two guys, because Leanne, you're in a committed relationship now, and Maddie, you as well. But think about this. Let's say I were to meet somebody and they would say, hey, okay, whatever, and we're going to go out on a date. I think the first thing each of us is going to do is go check the social media platforms of the other person.
Oh, always.
Like immediately, right? Like somebody's going to go to my Facebook. And you must have done that, Matt. I'm going to go to their Twitter page. What are they talking about?
Yeah,
of course. Oh my God, this person's a psycho. They're ranting about this. Or go to their Facebook page, or go to their Instagram page.
You can link your Instagram page to your Tinder page.
Right. And so immediately it's like, well, what are you seeing? Because a lot of times if you're posting, you're just whatever. I mean, I post what I post to try to be funny and weird and esoteric. But if somebody could look at that and go, he's nuts.
I don't understand any of his 1970s references.
Right. That's what will cost me from dating young people, because they don't understand what I'm talking about. It'll be like, look, Grandpa, I don't understand what that means. I don't know what a VHS tape is. So this means nothing to me.
But it's true. There's so much information. So you guys both Google when you meet someone new. The first thing is you Google them.
Yeah. Well, not Google them, no. But I look up their name on, like, I'll go into Facebook and look them up or whatever.
You don't do a whole background? Have you ever background checked anyone?
No, I
like a full background check.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Yeah.
No, I've never done that. But I guess
Well, you guys remember when I found the Google image of the guy who had the same name as me, who was a drug dealer in
I'll
Florida?
never forget it.
Yeah, that's
Remember that?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was us. I
You're-
Googled my name. I Googled pictured my
It's
name.
still, I still think it's you. I still
And-
think it's you.
Shut up! It is not me.
I don't
Okay.
know.
It's you.
I-
It's
I don't
you.
know.
It looks exactly like you. It has your
It
name.
looked exactly like me.
Everyone Google Marc Adam Smith and tell me that man is not Marc.
It's a drug dealer from Florida. That's like,
Oh.
that's
Dual
what caused me.
life. I see dual lives. I see this as a Lifetime show.
Yes, a dual life. Maybe we'll get somebody handsome to play me.
Well, okay, so we've already talked about like the dangers of for women, like, you know, inappropriate things that men do and kind of being on our toes when it comes to dating. But I'm wondering, Marc, from a man's perspective, what's your biggest fear?
Mm-hmm.
Rejection is always a big fear of like someone's disappointment. Like, it's difficult. It's easy to say, what is it like? If you're always on the island, you don't have to interact with people. If you get off the island, then you have to interact with people and then you can get hurt. So why would I leave the island? If I'm here with my soccer ball and my coconuts, then they don't talk back to me. I don't have to worry about, rejection. But if I leave the island and go, oh, I got to deal. So that's always, the deal. The fear is you ask somebody out for a date and they say no. That hurts.
Right.
It hurts. It hurts a lot. It does. There's no way you can cut two ways about it, or they go out with you and it's like, well, I just did it to be nice. I don't really see. It hurts. And when you get hurt, the natural reaction is, well, this sucks. Why would I want to feel like this? Let me not feel like this. By not asking someone out and not going out, then you don't feel that way. Now that leads to a whole myriad of other problems, but such is life. You worry about that. And guys, people of my age or my ilk can worry about other things. I mean, there are scams out there for, the assumption, someone in their 50s and they need to get married and they're lonely and they want to do this. So you get trapped up in like, some sort of like, I've heard of the story and I knew somebody vaguely through a friend of a friend who got involved with one of those, you meet the wife comes from another country, potential wife from another country, he's here and they immediately want to get married because they're getting married to get a green card to get in the country. And you think it's a real relationship, but it's not really a real relationship. You know what I mean? You've heard about this?
Yeah.
And there's a whole show about it on television called 90 Day Fiancé on TLC.
Yeah.
Where it's all like,
Are you worried about becoming a 90-day fiance?
You get somebody from another country who just wants to marry me to get in the great America that we're in, to be a part of this wonderful country. And so they decide to marry me with all I have going for me. But that's, I don't concern myself with that, but that's certainly out there for certain. You hear about that and things like that. So rejection, nobody likes rejection. Nobody likes rejection.
Nobody likes rejection.
This is true.
Whoever you are, you don't like rejection. It hurts. We're all human in that sense. And everybody hates, even animals hate rejection. When you're not nice to one of your pets and you don't want to pet them or something like that, they feel it. They know.
Right.
They go sulking off into the corner like, oh, what did I do? What's going on here?
Everyone just wants to be loved.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true. I read an article. Dogs feel the same human emotions. Also, on that, Marc, you know what they say? I read this. I saw that. Where did I see this recently? Rejection is God's protection. Did you know this?
No, I did not. Well, that's good. Good for God. Good for him.
Just saying, maybe you're dodging a bullet there.
Yeah, maybe I am. Okay. Thank you, God. Thank you for finally helping.
Talking to the atheist.
Yes.
So, yeah, we talked about that.
We did.
Yeah. And Maddie, are you religious?
No. No.
No.
I don't have. I should have said that better, but I didn't. No, I'm not.
Well, I always marvel because the boyfriend and I always read statistics on marriage and stuff nowadays, and we found some stats that showed that people who are atheist or agnostic have a much better chance of having a longer marriage, or the divorce rate goes down for people who are atheist or agnostic.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Pressure?
Yeah.
Unrealistic expectations?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a number of things I'm I'm
Because
really
the sanctity
curious.
of marriage is a religious idea, a little bit, so this is kind of funny to me.
We were like, really? But yeah.
Wow.
And I think Baptists,
I wonder what that is.
I think Baptists actually had the highest divorce rate, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
You know what it is? Do you know why? Because they get married so fast because they don't have sex before they get married. And so they want to just do it. So they get married, then they have sex, and then they realize they don't like each other.
Right.
That's what happens.
All right. Well,
atheists.
Just so you guys know, it's cheaper
know.
just to date. It's cheaper.
It
just
is
to date.
cheaper just to date.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we had the
God.
opportunity to catch up, you guys. This was
fun. This was good. I miss you two guys terribly, so it's always I see. I mean, Leanne, you live across the country, so I have an excuse. Maddie, I have no excuse for not coming to see you more because you're not far from me. That's my fault.
Back at you. I'm just. Oh, it's so hard here in the city, but I do.
Right.
We need to invest in seeing each other more often.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
But we can talk about that not on the podcast.
Yes, exactly. No,
You know what?
no,
I think
I only talk in
What's your
public.
schedule, Mark? We can.
Well, if you want my schedule, go to my Facebook page or my Twitter, and I post where I am at all times.
That's
Hey,
right.
just-
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a Chopped.
And I have to say, I really miss Chopped. I can't find.
You love Chopped.
I do like Chopped a lot. They
You
should-
do. You loved it. We'd go there when we
We're
worked
watching
at that
MasterChef
place.
Junior.
Yeah. What's that, Maddie?
We're watching MasterChef Junior. So,
Oh, right now?
right behind you.
Hmm.
Well, not right now.
Oh,
but-
okay.
But
But
you guys know I gave up watching a very scintillating episode of Guy's Grocery Games to do the podcast tonight, which I'm going to watch when we're done.
well, good, because I hoped you
You
taped
weren't
it on your
joking about
VHS. Yes.
Well, I have a beta, old school.
Great. Well, you guys, Mark is available.
Yeah.
We'll put his contact information in our show
Please
notes
do.
for you.
Yes.
And I know how much Mark loves the beach, so I'd like to personally invite both of you to California soon.
Yep.
Because Mark is a
I'm
fan of. I know you would be, Maddie. So yes, you guys are.
You would do it for us.
For you two guys, I would.
Yeah,
I
for like an hour.
You would go out on the beach for us.
No, I'd mutter to myself and be miserable, but I'd do it for you two guys. And they'd look at me and, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Why are you muttering to yourself?
Well, you
I'm not.
always mutter to yourself when you're miserable, so
Yes,
you might as well
that's-
do it on the beach.
Might as well do it getting a tan, is what you're saying.
And you may have better luck finding.
Yes.
That's right. And you may hey, yeah, once you get some board shorts and a tan going on, you might find yourself a California woman, Mark.
Well, there you go. That would be nice.
Irresistible.
Yes.
That's right. Carry around a surfboard. That'll do it.
Right, even though I don't know how to surf. It's like, you want to go out and do some work? I can't at the moment, but yeah, let's tank 10, baby.
Well, on that note, you guys, thank you very much for all this informative information on dating, especially in the city, and all this good stuff. We're going to do this again.
Yes, let's do.
Yes,
It was a lot of fun.
please.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, you
All right.
guys. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Love you guys.
I
Bye-bye.
love you guys.
Love you.
Happy Mother's Day, Leanne.
Yes.
Thanks. I'll tell my
And you too,
uterus.
Maddie.
I miss you, Mom.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.